I remember the day vividly, every detail etched in my mind like a photograph. It was a crisp Saturday afternoon, the kind where the sun casts a golden hue over everything, and the smell of hot dogs and popcorn wafted through the air. The stadium buzzed with energy as fans clad in team colors filled the stands, their cheers echoing like thunder. I felt that electric anticipation surging through the crowd, knowing today was going to be special. As I stood a few feet away from the entrance, my eyes landed on him. A guy in his mid-30s, wearing a slightly tattered jersey that had clearly seen better days. He clutched a ticket in his hand, his face brimming with excitement. But that joy quickly turned into desperation when he reached the gate. I could see the security guards shaking their heads, their expressions stern as he pleaded passionately. "I swear I purchased the ticket. Please, I just want to see the game." His voice was filled with raw emotion, the kind that digs deep into your chest and twists until you have to look away. But the guards were unmoved, their stern postures unyielding like stone wall. My heart sank for him. I wanted to shout, to rush forward and advocate on his behalf. But I felt frozen, merely an observer in this unfolding drama. What if they didn't let him in? Then, just as the tension peaked, everything shifted. The gate creaked open, and out walked the head coach, his expression serious but his eyes quickly scanning the crowd. At first, I couldn't understand why he was there, but as he locked eyes with the man in the jersey, his face transformed. Recognition dawned, and then, in a moment of pure spontaneity, the coach strode over. "Hey, aren't you the guy whose story I read? The one about the Little League team?" His voice boomed with enthusiasm, and I could see the other fans around us lean in, intrigued. The fans' eyes widened as if someone had flipped a switch. Disbelief mingled with hope. "Yes, that's me. Come on in." The coach did the unexpected, swinging open the gate wider, welcoming the man into the stadium. Gasps filled the crowd, our collective surprise hanging in the air like a whisper. Not just a simple entry, but a theatrical gesture that caught the attention of everyone present. In that moment, I realized it wasn't just about the game, or the coach, or the fan at the gate. It was about a connection, a reminder that every person, no matter how small, can touch the lives of those bigger than themselves. The crowd erupted into applause as the fan rushed through the gate, a joyous grin spreading across his face. Before we dive into the aftermath of this remarkable event, here's a quick reminder for all of you following our stories. YouTube has recently been removing subscriptions without warning, so take a moment to make sure you're still subscribed and give us a thumbs up to support our channel. Now, as the stadium roared around us, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something much bigger. The atmosphere inside the stadium was electric, a pulsating sea of colors, sounds, and emotions. As the fan made his way past the gates, tears glimmered in his eyes, and for a moment, he stood frozen, absorbing the reality that he was actually in. I watched him take a deep breath, as if the air itself was laced with hope and joy. Around us, the crowd erupted in cheers, some even chanting his name, a spontaneous celebration of his unexpected entrance. He gradually turned to the head coach, gratitude spilling from his lips. "Thank you. I can't believe you did that for me." His voice cracked, almost choking on excitement. The coach simply smiled, a warmth radiating from him that spoke volumes more than words ever could. It was as if he understood the gravity of that moment, not just for the fan, but for everyone witnessing this poignant reunion of dreams and reality. As I observed the reactions around me, the moment felt like it was transcending just a mere game. Conversations bubbled amongst strangers, points of connection sprouted in the crowd. Fans were sharing stories, connecting over their mutual admiration for the game, and I couldn't help but feel a swell of emotion myself. This was what sports did. They brought people together, united in joy, heartbreak, and everything in between. Yet all this warmth made me curious. Who was this fan, really? What stories had he shared that resonated so deeply with the coach? And why did the coach remember him amongst the thousands of other stories he must hear? As the game started, I noticed the fan jump up and down, waving his arms, consumed by joy. But with each cheer, my mind drifted back to those unanswered questions. The match unfolded, and I finally gathered the courage to approach the fan, eager bubbles of curiosity bouncing in my chest. "Hey!" I called, my voice nearly lost amidst the cheers. He turned, eyes still shimmering with excitement. "What was the story that got you here today?" For a split second, he looked perplexed, but then it clicked. "Oh, it's about how I coached a group of kids in my neighborhood. We were underdogs, but it changed everything." His eyes lit up as he spoke, and as he began sharing his tale, I leaned in closer, captivated. I even forgot about the game around us for a moment. His passion was infectious, igniting not just curiosity, but an emotional resonance that bonded us in that moment. As he animatedly recounted tales of sweat, laughter, and victory, I realized this wasn't just about a sport. It was about life lessons. It was about how belief in someone could spark change, a thread that seemed to weave deeper still into the fabric of what the coach had done. Before I could ask more, the fan's voice lifted amidst a wave of shouts, targeting the field. "Look at that!" he exclaimed, and I followed his gaze, the reality of the game hitting me like a stadium wave. But even as I turned back to him, a nagging question lingered in my mind. Could I gather more threads from his story? Little did I know, a twist was waiting just around the corner. What if his story had not only inspired the coach, but could also inspire even more people? The difference between ordinary and extraordinary seemed thinner than a line of paint on a field. And with that thought, just as the action began to heat up on the field, I felt the excitement bubble up again. This wasn't the end of the story. It was just the beginning. As I settled back in for the game, a curiosity ignited within me. What else could unfold on this unexpected journey? Stay tuned. The best is yet to come. As the game wore on, I found myself completely engrossed, but my mind kept crawling back to that extraordinary moment at the gate. I glanced at the fan, who was now passionately rallying everyone around him. His joy radiated like sunlight, illuminating the faces of strangers who were now cheering alongside him, united by one incredible act of kindness. I couldn't help but admire how the coach had ignited that fire in him, a determination that spread through the stands like wildflowers in spring. Yet, beneath the contagious excitement, lingered a deeper question. What was it about his story that had resonated so profoundly with the coach? My curiosity brewed as I subtly glanced over at him during breaks in the game, hoping for a clue. I watched him interact with others. The way he engaged made it clear that he wasn't just a fan. He was a beacon of inspiration, and I was eager to unearth more of his journey. Then, right as the halftime whistle blared, I spotted my chance. The fan was surrounded by a gaggle of enthusiastic followers, recounting the story that had brought him here. It was a vibrant sight, a vivid tapestry of emotions. But I needed to know more. Gathering my courage, I made my way through the crowd, weaving between fans, each second stretching out as the anticipation built. "Excuse me," I finally shouted, hoping to grab his attention. He turned, bright-eyed with surprise. "Can I ask you something?" The crowd quieted down, curious about what I had to say. "I heard you mention a little league team earlier. What happened? How did it change your life?" Yeah, his expression sharpened, as if I had struck a chord deep within him. "It's a long story," he began, hesitating for just a moment. But those around him leaned in, captivated by the prospect of a tale that had already felt so monumental. I was just a regular guy, coaching kids in my neighborhood. They were small, overlooked, and written off as losers. But we had this bond, like a family. We didn't just play games. We fought to believe in ourselves. His voice surged with enthusiasm, rekindling a sparkle in his eye. Suddenly, my heart raced, not just for the storyteller, but for the twist he'd inadvertently just hinted at. "What changed everything?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, eager to uncover what magic lay just beneath the surface. He took a moment, his gaze trailing back to the field where players were now lined up, ready to resume the duel. It was a single game, a championship we were never expected to win. We went up against the giants, the favorites, but the kids rallied together and they surprised everyone, including me. He paused, and my heartbeat was in sync with the murmur of the crowd. I'll never forget that moment, seeing those kids rise against the odds. It was more than a win. It was validation. His eyes glistened with emotion, and I realized this was not just a fan, but a catalyst for change, one who had transformed lives through sheer belief. Just then, the game resumed, and the energy in the stadium swelled once more. I couldn't shake the feeling this story was only the tip of the iceberg. Whatever happened in that championship game had undoubtedly forged a connection far deeper than I had imagined. And with every cheer and every gasp from the field, I wondered how this remarkable encounter would evolve. Little did I know, I wasn't the only one intrigued. As the game continued, I could see others tuning into our conversation, their faces lighting up with inspiration. This was more than a single story. It was the beginning of something powerful, surging in this stadium. What ripple effects might arise from this moment? Stay with me as we dive deeper into the heart of this journey, where each twist unveils more than just the love of a game. The next chapter awaits. I could hardly focus on the game as the more I learned about him, the more his journey captured my imagination. Every cheer, every touchdown, and every roar from the crowd seemed to amplify the intensity of the moment we were sharing. There was something transcendental about this connection, a bond forged not just through sports, but through shared struggles and triumphs. As I turned my gaze back to the field, I couldn't help but feel that we were witnessing more than just a game. It was a reminder of how people can uplift one another, sometimes in the most unexpected ways. The fans' earlier joy was now interwoven with something heavier, a weight of experiences that shaped him, that made him the man he was today. How often do we overlook the stories behind the faces in a crowd? I leaned in even closer, trying to catch every detail and nuance as he spoke, his enthusiasm contagious. "You know," he continued, "those kids taught me just as much as I taught them. They showed me that no one is truly less than anyone else. Just because you come from a lower income background doesn't mean you can't chase dreams." His voice was earnest, and I could see how much it meant to him to share these experiences. The crowd around us began to fade into a blur as I hung onto his every word. That game was about more than winning. It was about believing we deserved a chance. We were the underdogs, yes, but we fought hard, not just for ourselves, but for each other, he continued. And when the final score came in, when we stood victorious, it was like we shattered every stereotype that had been imposed on us. A wave of emotion washed over him, and I felt an almost magnetic pull towards his spirit. This wasn't just a victory in sports. It was a triumph of resilience and community. As he spoke, I noticed other fans beginning to gather around, enraptured by both the game unfolding before them and the powerful narrative spilling out into the air. It felt as if our intimate circle was expanding, drawing more people in, creating something almost palpable in the atmosphere. "Why do you think the coach recognized you?" I asked, my curiosity steering the conversation to the pivotal moment that had brought him here. What was it about your story that stuck with him? For a moment, he appeared lost in thought, his gaze drifting toward the field where players were now locked in fierce competition. I guess my story resonated with him because it reminded him of what he stands for, a belief that every player has potential, no matter where they come from. It's all about having heart. Just as he finished speaking, I felt a swell of energy ripple through the crowd as an astonishing play unfolded on the field. The game was heating up, but amidst that excitement, I felt that the true journey was happening right here in this moment, a shared understanding of what it means to strive, to believe, and to care. The fans' excitement became a rallying cry around us, igniting a sense of camaraderie that swept through the crowd. Strangers were no longer distant. Together, we became woven into the fabric of a larger, invigorating narrative. People were exchanging ideas, laughter, glances of encouragement, and beyond that, a collective heartbeat surged as we cheered for our team. And then a thought struck me. The coach had physically opened that gate, yes, but it was evident he was also a metaphorical gatekeeper, opening up hearts and minds through inspiration. What if this was the kind of connection the world needed more of? The half concluded, but the energy was still palpable, almost tingling with possibility. As fans filtered toward the concession stands, I glimpsed an opportunity. It was clear this fan carried a lighthouse quality, illuminating not just his own life, but potentially guiding others too. Before I could overthink it, I blurted out, "Have you ever considered sharing your story? Perhaps on a bigger platform? I think it could resonate far and wide." He looked at me, mouth agape for a moment, as if my suggestion had opened a floodgate in his mind. "You really think so? I just never thought anyone would want to hear my little anecdotes." "My friend," I replied with conviction, "there are so many people out there who need to hear what you have to say. Your story has power. It can inspire someone who might be feeling lost." As the second half of the game began, the fan sank into his own thoughts, and I sensed a flicker of validation lighting up within him. Meanwhile, a collective roar erupted from the stands as our team celebrated another touchdown, and the energy exploded like fireworks, reverberating throughout the stadium. Everyone cheered and hollered, caught up in the spectacle of the game. Yet I was captivated by the prospect of the fan weaving his words into a wholesome narrative. What if he became the ones to inspire countless others, just as the coach had inspired him? And then, in the frenzy of excitement surrounding us, I caught sight of the coach standing off to the side, watching the game unfold with an expression of pride and determination. Did he know the ripple effect he had started? Did he realize that by embracing one fan, he opened doors for many? Just then, the fan leaned in closer, a newfound fire igniting behind his eyes. Do you think I could really make a difference?" With every fiber of my being, I nodded. "Absolutely. People hunger for stories of hope, resilience, and inspiration. Yours is so genuine, so real. You never know who might resonate with it." That moment at the gate, incredible, he muttered as he watched the coach clapping on the sidelines, encouraging players. It's surreal, isn't it? To think that one small action can cascade into something larger. And it struck me then, like lightning, a realization that perhaps this entire journey was every bit as profound as we made it. It wasn't just about the stadium. It was about the connections, the stories that held the power to illuminate even the darkest corners of our lives. As the crowd around us burst into applause, the scoreboard clock ticked away. The excitement soon reached dizzying heights as the game neared its conclusion. Players were pushing harder, sweat flying with every determined stride, and every touchdown stood as a testament to their relentless spirit. In the chaos of jostling emotions, I felt it, the threads of fate intertwining, connecting this fan to a destiny far beyond the stadium gates. You've already started a movement just by being here, I said, with an earnestness that resonated deeply. Your story is an open door, and you are the key. Don't hold back. With a bright smile spreading across his face, I watched as the recognition dawned, not just in him, but in every single face around us. The power of one small story, one entry into this vibrant world. And with that notion, my heart raced as the game continued to unfold, because I knew by the time this chapter of our lives came to a close, something much greater was waiting just on the horizon. How many lives would he touch? What stories would he share? This would not just be a mere ending. The journey had only just begun. In the moments that remained, I could sense an expanding current of hope and unity radiating from our midst. The final whistle would mark not just a game played, but a message carried onward. A call for all of us to make connections, share our stories, and uplift one another. Stay tuned, because as the final moments tick away, the revelation of what this fan could become, his story written in the annals of inspiration, awaited just like the game changer he had always believed himself to be. And little did we know, the final chapter was just around the corner. As the final moments of the game approached, the stadium pulsed with a united heartbeat, a rhythm that mirrored the journey we all embarked on that day. I couldn't shake the excitement coursing through my veins as I turned to the fan, who was now visibly buoyed by our earlier conversation. His passion seemed to ignite the very air around us, and I realized we weren't just witnesses to a game, but to a transformation. "Do you feel it too?" he asked, eyes glistening with zeal. "This connection, it's almost electric." I nodded vigorously. "Absolutely. This is what it's all about. Community, shared experiences, and believing that we can all inspire one another." The final whistle was imminent, and the crowd was on its feet, ready to erupt in celebration or lament. But amidst the cheers, my focus shifted back to the fan. There was something extraordinary brewing in him, and I couldn't help but feel honored to be part of his story. "You have a gift," I said, urgency lacing my voice. "Your experiences, your ability to uplift those kids, it can reach so many more. You know the coach saw something special in you, right?" His face shone with realization. "You're right. I've been too caught up in my little corner. If I can inspire just one person, then maybe it all means something." As the clock wound down, our team scored the final touchdown. The crowd erupted into wild applause, and I felt his joy radiate like a beacon. It became clear, the victory on the field was just another metaphor for the triumph of the human spirit. Our lives, woven together by a single thread of kindness, extended beyond the gates of that stadium. "Promise me something," I ventured, the words tumbling forth my excitement. "Promise me that you'll share your story, that you'll become a voice for others like you." "I promise," he beamed, determination etched across his face. In a moment that seemed to transcend time, it was as if we both felt the magnitude of that promise, a promise that resonated with every cheer echoing in the air. As fans began to leave the stadium, high on the victories of the day, I turned once more to the fan. "Now's the time to spark change. Use your story to uplift others. And remember, this journey is just beginning." With a final surge of unity, the crowd poured out, buzzing with excitement, connections newly forged, hearts lit up with hope. As I walked alongside the fan, I couldn't help but feel that our lives had intertwined in a beautiful tapestry. "Thank you for everything," he said, quietly filled with a concise yet powerful gratitude. "No thank you," I replied, realizing my own heart had been touched by a deeper truth that day. Each of us held a story capable of changing lives, a reminder that we are all a part of something much greater than ourselves. Before you leave, if you loved this story and want to hear more, don't forget to subscribe. I smiled, newfound energy bubbling between us. As we stepped out into the fading light of day, I watched him carry a spark of promise that would not only illuminate his path, but would undoubtedly inspire others along the way. And now, as I merge back into the whirlwind of life, I know that some stories linger long after the applause dies down, a testament to the power we all have to make a spectacular impact. Each moment counts, and this was just the beginning.